We were talking about the damaging effect of Trump's economic policies, and one of the areas that I covered is the damaging effect that Trump's economic policy had on our trade with China. And that's when this gentleman came in and said he was selling rice, soybeans, and chicken from the United States and helped the U.S. farmers. So why are you trying to scare everyone? He had countries, blah, 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 blah. You have no fucking clue what you're talking about. None whatsoever. And just so that we're clear, this is a space that my wife and I lived in. My wife has been in agricultural exports for over 2 decades. We own semis that haul nothing but agricultural exports. And you do not know what the fuck you're talking about. Trump's tariffs seen delivering a repeat blow to U.S. farm exports. House Farm Bill would prohibit use of CCC to soften retaliation blow to farmers. President-elect Donald Trump's pledge to levy hefty tariffs on imports is expected to result in retaliation that hits farmers hard, repeating events from his first term, when Washington spent tens of billions of dollars to ease the pain on the agriculture sector. Trump has proposed a blanket 10 to 20% tariff on all good imports, and 60% or higher tariff on goods from China, and up to 100% on goods from Mexico. His tariff proposals come even as House Republicans seek to prohibit the mechanism Trump used to aid farmers in 2018 and 19. Why would a country not retaliate? Asked Brian Kuehl, executive director of Farmers for Free Trade, a nonprofit organization that advocates free trade. Everybody's going to look out for their interest. And if you start hitting them with tariffs, they'll start hitting you back. That's what a trade war is. A trade war in the second Trump administration could again bring a steep drop in U.S. corn and soybean exports to China. The National Corn Growers Association and the American Soybean Association said in an October study, that soybean exports could fall nearly 52% and corn exports about 84% if China responds in kind. The forecasts are against expectations for exports. China retaliated with high tariffs in Trump's first term, but after signing a new trade pact, granted waivers to U.S. producers. Beijing could lift those waivers anytime. Take out a pen and paper, because here's where you want to start taking some fucking notes. Soybeans and soy products could see tariffs of 30% to 35%, up from 3% to 9% now. Corn exports below a 7.2 million ton quota could see a 1% tariff rise to 26%. Corn exports above that quota could see tariffs rise from 65% to 90%, the study said. The two groups warned that a shift away from soybean and corn exports could have long-term consequences on the global supply structure and allowing competing countries to step up. If we lose soybean and corn exports for a year or two, what that means is Brazil and Argentina are going to put more acres under the plow, Kuehl said. China will buy its soybeans from Brazil and Argentina since it feels like it can depend on those countries more. So there's long-term impacts. Trump and lawmakers could also face a choice between watching U.S. farmers take the hit or using fiscal policy to soften the blow. Washington spent almost $30 billion to do so last time. The Trump administration in 2018 imposed tariffs on China and other major trade partners using Section 301 of a 1974 trade law and Section 232 of a 1962 law on a range of imports, including steel and aluminum. Not only China, but also Canada, the European Union, India, Mexico, and Turkey retaliated. Now, here's where you're really going to want to pay attention. The Agriculture Department estimated that the retaliation delivered more than a $27 billion loss in U.S. agricultural exports, or $13.2 billion annualized, from mid-2018 to the end of 2019. China accounted for about 95% of the loss. Soybeans took the biggest hit, $9.4 billion annualized, and in the absence of U.S. supply, Brazil gained about $4 billion in agriculture exports to China in 2018. The losses were felt primarily in Midwestern states like Iowa, who voted for Trump, Illinois, who thankfully didn't, and Kansas, who voted for Trump. China had an alternative source in Brazil, said Jeffrey Schott, a senior fellow at the Peterson Institute for International Economics. Like most countries, when you feel you have to retaliate, you look at what is going to impose the most pain to your trading partner and impose the least pain on your own economy, Scott said. China wanted to target political constituents that support President Trump and might be able to tell him to, ease off. Trump and Chinese Vice Premier Liu He signed a so-called Phase 1 agreement in January of 2020, in which China agreed to buy an average of $80 billion in agricultural and food goods in 2020 and 2021. In effect, China kept the tariffs in place but used the waivers to lower them. But the USDA said that the U.S. share of China's market remained below pre-retaliation levels a year after the deal. When Trump was in the White House, agricultural exports suffered greatly. I know. We pull the fucking products that get shipped out of the fucking country. My wife's been living in this space for over 2 decades. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And if he does it again, it's going to hurt even more. Because China, the last time, started buying from Brazil and Argentina, as well as Russia. And since then, Brazil has been clearing even more rainforest to make even more row crops available. In other words, they have a larger agricultural footprint, so they can supply China with even more agricultural imports if need be. In other words, China's even in an even better spot this time around to go, fuck you. We're not buying your agricultural exports. We'll get them from Argentina, Brazil, and Russia, which is exactly what they're going to do. And anything that's left over that farmers in this country might be able to sell to China is going to be hit with massive tariffs going into China. Our farmers are going to suffer, and it's going to cost you and I billions upon billions upon billions of dollars to bail them out, if the Republicans are even going to be willing to bail them out. The trucking industry is going to suffer again. We're going to suffer from imports, and the whole goddamn economy is going to fucking crater if he does it. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Shut the fuck up.